is a special day. It's a day we've been looking forward to since 1979. The dream of building a Votech Center in northwest Oklahoma County is taking its final step toward reality, as this facility is formally dedicated in honor of a man whose name is synonymous with quality and innovation in vocational technical education. The dream goes back all the way to the mid-60s, when the state constitution was amended to allow local school districts to band together and form area Votech districts. In 1979, the voters of Deer Creek, Edmond, Putnam City, and Western Heights school districts voted to form Votech District 21. The Board of Education was elected. The search for administrative staff began. A building site was located. HTB Incorporated was selected as the architect. Plans were approved. And construction began with E.V. Cox Construction Company as general contractor. Dedication ceremony in honor of Dr. Francis Tuttle, State Director of the Department of Vocational-Technical Education. And now please welcome the Superintendent of the Francis Tuttle Votech Center, Mr. Bruce Gray.
Thank you very much. You know, I was just sitting there thinking and reflecting a little bit as I watched that opening slide presentation about the many hours of planning and hard work that brought us to this evening. As we moved in May, I don't guess there's been a day that's gone by that we haven't taken several people on tours through this facility. And as a result, I think the administrative staff and the faculty receive a lot of praise for what's taken place in the hours of planning and the development of this institution. But it's my pleasure to take a few minutes to introduce a group of people that don't get much praise, but they really are the individuals that have put in the hours of work and made the major decisions and helped this facility get to where we are tonight. It's a very unrewarding job most of the time, and we feel like that you want to join with the staff in recognizing these individuals so that they can receive some of the praise that they so richly deserve, and that's our Board of Education. It's my pleasure at this time to introduce these 5 members to you. Representing Zone 1, which is the Deer Creek School District, is Mr. Bob Turner. Bob was an original board member. He owns and operates a commercial and residential real estate development company, and which is Bob Turner Incorporated. Please join me in showing our appreciation to Mr. Bob Turner. Bob. Our at-large board member is Dr. Donald Ressler. Dr. Ressler is an ear, nose, and throat specialist and operates 2 offices in the Oklahoma City area. He has served as Vice President of the Board of Education for 3 years. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Donald Ressler. Representing Zone 2, which is the Edmond School District, is Mr. Buddy Sanford. Buddy is a partner in M&T Architect Engineer Incorporated of Edmond, has been on the board for 2 years, and is currently serving as clerk of the board. Mr. Buddy Sanford. Representing Zone 4 from Western Heights School District is Mr. Doug Lowe. Doug is an engineer and owns and operates his own business, Materials Handling Incorporated. He is another one of our original board members and is presently serving as Vice President of the board. Mr. Lowe. The last board member I would like to introduce, who will complete the program for this evening, represents Zone 3, which is the Putnam City School District, Suzette Northcutt. Suzette operates her own business, the Northwest Tag Agency. She is currently serving on the State Advisory Council of Vocational Education. She is an officer in the Oklahoma Vocational-Technical Education Council, and she is a member of the Oklahoma Commission on Education Administration. In her spare time, she is a registered nurse, a registered lobbyist, and registered on some other things that I don't know what all. She's a TV celebrity, as most of you saw her on the telethon recently. And she has been president of this school board since its formation in 1979, and it's been a real pleasure for me to have the opportunity to work with her. Please welcome to the podium Ms. Suzette Northcutt.
Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Education, welcome to our school, and welcome to this very special dedication ceremony. From our first official meeting and swearing in on July 10th, 1979, to today, September 11th, 1982, we have come to appreciate and at times dread the monumental decisions and the tremendous effort necessary to build a school district from the ground up. I believe I can speak for all of the members of the board when I say that as we entered that first election, none of us fully understood exactly what was involved in what would be involved in the creation of this truly magnificent education facility. Each one of us approached this building and growing process with determination and enthusiasm, and we willingly invested the time, the energy, the emotion, and the dreams necessary to get to today. This is certainly a special occasion, and special occasions need a special celebration. We wanted to share that celebration with those who had part in turning a dream into a reality. That's why you've been invited here this evening. Most of you had some part in the dreaming, the planning, the building, and the opening of this school. It has taken the support and the encouragement and the cooperation of you and thousands of other individuals to make tonight possible. In 1979, the State Votech Department, the Boards of Education, and the superintendents of Putnam City, Western Heights, Deer Creek, and Edmond worked together to pass a resolution to form the district. Once the district was formed, there was much to be done. A board to be elected, a superintendent to be hired, a mill levy to pass, an architect to select, land to be purchased, and many hours of planning to be done. In these many decisions, the State Department became our daily partner. Once chosen, the architectural firm of HTB Incorporated, and mainly in the person of Mr. Dombey Zinn, worked closely with us, and I'd like to take a moment at this time to recognize Mr. Zinn. Would you join me in appreciating him? Where are you, Dombey? Thank you. Dombey and the many other people at HTB worked closely with us and translated our ideas and our dreams to plans and specifications. And then the E.V. Cox Construction Company and a score of subcontractors and their employees moved dirt, poured concrete, and strung literally miles of wire and pipe and duct. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Jim Cox as the primary mover behind the Cox Construction Company. Where are you, Mr. Cox? Jim Cox and the many subcontractors and their employees, in 18 months, brought out of an Oklahoma wheat field the state's most progressive vocational education center. The boards of education, the administrators, the faculty, and the staff of the participating school districts also had a part in the success of this effort. And the legislators representing this district joined with others from across the state to help in the passage of vital legislation that provided funds for building and equipping our center. They were willing to listen to our needs, then follow through with their commitments and their support. Many of you have been involved on our advisory council or program advisory committees or in a variety of other ways. And together, we are here this evening. With all your help, we were able to build a school that will offer quality vocational training. When the final student is enrolled and the final head count taken on October 1, 1982, every available training station in this school will be occupied. That adds up to more than 750 full-time students and another anticipated 3,000 adults who will take advantage of the part-time evening program, and that's only in the first year. So to all of you, on behalf of the Board of Education, I say thank you. Thank you for your help, your encouragement, and your support. And I say again, welcome. Welcome to the dedication ceremony of the Francis Tuttle Vocational-Technical Education Center, named to honor Dr. Francis Tuttle, who has dedicated his professional life to helping others plan a strategy for tomorrow.
Center, where you can plan a strategy for tomorrow. Time magazine reported that America is running out of people who can do essential work. It's often the case that the majority of the unemployed workforce are unskilled workers. The skills squeeze is hitting just about every industry, as positions requiring specific skills from secretaries to technicians and machinists remain unfilled. Many unskilled workers desperately need a strategy for tomorrow. Experts say we need to tell our young people there are many rewarding careers in what have traditionally been called blue-collar jobs. It's tragic but true that many young people complete a 4-year liberal arts education only to find they have no marketable skills. When they find a job, they often must receive additional specialized training in some technical area. For many young people, an effective strategy for tomorrow can include up to 2 years of specialized technical training while they are completing requirements for their high school diploma. They may use this training to find a job right out of high school. Others use their skill to help work their way through college. Others see their vocational training as the first step toward more college-level instruction. Vocational technical instruction at this level is a solid foundation upon which to build a strategy for tomorrow. Today in Oklahoma, there is a network of area VOTEC districts. This network has developed because the state legislature, the governor's office, educators, and many other business and community leaders have seen the benefits of this training to the economic and social development of the state. But one man in particular has been continuously at the forefront of these efforts to plan a strategy for tomorrow. Since becoming State Director of Vocational Technical Education in 1967, Dr. Francis Tuttle has dedicated himself to building an educational system that was truly responsive both to the needs of the student and to the demands of the job market. He has said on many occasions that he believes the ultimate test of this educational effort is the satisfactory employment of these students. These same high standards and expectations are the rule by which the school named in Dr. Tuttle's honor will be measured. VOTEC District 21 was formed in 1979 by the voters of Deer Creek, Edmond, Putnam City, and Western Heights school districts. They wanted their young people to have the opportunity to plan a strategy for tomorrow. The Francis Tuttle VOTEC Center opened with 15 programs for high school and adult students. and 3 more programs for adult students exclusively. More programs are on the drawing board now. A strategy for tomorrow. That's what we're offering. With a delivery system for students that will let them train at their own pace so they get the most out of each class hour. So they can practice each skill until it becomes second nature. So they can question and explore. The curriculum is developed in a modular audiovisual format. Students train at their own pace, so they are neither rushed nor bored. When the training is completed, each student receives a competency certificate listing all skills taught and indicating the student's proficiency on each skill. To help the students get the most out of their training, a learning center is provided to help them improve communication and math skills. Every student is tested, and an individualized program is recommended so each student may strengthen these vital life skills. A career services center is available to help in career counseling and job readiness. Students receive help in locating job opportunities, completing job applications, constructing a resume, and preparing for the interview. In addition to these daytime programs, a full range of short courses is offered weeknights to adult students. Thousands of adults enroll in these classes throughout the year. Our doors are open 14 hours a day. And the Votech Center coordinates many technical update workshops and seminars for area business and industry. Because you see, it's all part of offering a strategy for tomorrow that will give young people and adults the opportunity to pursue a career path or an avocational interest that will enrich their life and strengthen the community. The Francis Tuttle Votech Center, where we are planning a strategy for tomorrow.
I said I wasn't going to get back up, but I sort of asked for this pleasure to introduce a friend of vocational education. This is the second time in about 6 weeks I've had this pleasure to do this. When we talked to this individual tonight, he said, well, I've got 2 other commitments, but I want to be here to help dedicate this center in the name of Dr. Francis Tuttle. Ladies and gentlemen, I know he's on a tight schedule. I want to get him up as soon as possible. Please join me in welcoming the Governor of the State of Oklahoma, the Honorable George Nye.
Hello. Thank you. I want to make an obvious announcement to begin with. The Francis Tuttle Votech Center has an excellent loud band. Could you raise the house light so I could see where I am? Would you? Hey, you can't. Hey, would you? Hey, just keep bringing them, would you, please? Hi, this is good. Now, if you just, thank you very much. If you'd leave them like that, I'd appreciate it. I kind of feel like I'm in Las Vegas. Dr. Fisher, I didn't know we had this much money. We could do things like this. Don't tell them what we can do now with the state capitol once we see these places. I wanted to come and be here tonight, and I apologize always for coming in and saying I've got a very busy schedule and leaving, but it's been kind of a hectic evening. But I have known Francis Tuttle for a long time, and I wanted to come mainly to honor him and to also to tell you how pleased I am with the progress we've been making. And so that you'll know that I'm not trying to impress you, I didn't know what to wear. I've just come from a black tie dinner at Tinker Air Force Base for the Air Guard, and I'm going from here to a pool party. And and the pool party is for a special project that I can't mention here, but it's but I hope I just did. I want you to know that this is and then to have come home. How many of you were at the game today? The game. Moving right along, I want to. But I'm reminded always. I'm not reminded at all. I've written down here to tell it. I'm reminded of the story that Senator Kerr used to tell. Late Senator Bob Kerr. There was a United States senator named Senator Green from, I think it was for Rhode Island or Vermont, one of the two states, who was the oldest United States senator ever to serve. And he was a goer and a stayer and a player. And he went to every meeting, and he stayed, and he participated in every event. And he would work in less 3 or 4 a night. And Senator Kerr said he saw him one night standing over in the corner at a cocktail party, and said Senator Green was just frowning and going through his book and his calendar book and his date book and just frowning. Senator Kerr walked up and said, I bet you're trying to figure out where you're going next. He said, I bet you're trying to figure out where you're going next. And he said, no, I'm trying to figure out where in the hell I am now. And it sometimes gets that way, but I'm sure that you can understand that when a guy is invited to participate in something as significant as this, that I wanted to be here. Actually, I wanted to be with the Air Guard because they're receiving a national award, and this is their annual event, and as their quote-unquote commander-in-chief, I wanted to be there. And let me tell you, as an aviation boatswain's mate, 3rd class, I'll go anywhere where I'm the commander-in-chief. I just love seeing all that brass that sits on either side of you, and I'm reminded also of another Senator Kerr story. I don't know why I'm reminded of those, but he said the guy on the front line in World War I, I guess it was, because they were on the front line, and said the rockets' red glare and the bombs bursting in air. Man, he just had about all he could take, and he did 180, and he turned around and he headed off, and he did what we call scratch, grab, trigger, and he was trying to get out of there, and he just ran, and he 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 ran, and out of the night a figure grabbed him and said, young man, where do you think you're going? He said, I'm headed home. I'm getting out of here. I'm headed home. He said, no, you're not, young man. You're just going to turn right around. You're going to go back up to the front line. He said, I'm headed home. I'm getting out of here. He said, young man, you're going to turn right around and you're going to go right back up to the front line. And the private who had just been running said, I'm getting out of here. And the mystery figure out of the night that had grabbed him and stopped him said, young man, do you know who you're talking to? And the private said, no, I don't. And the figure out of the night said, young man, you're talking to a colonel. And the private said, have I run that far? Well, so anytime as aviation's bosun mate third class, I get to go out there with every one of them an officer. Every one of them an officer, and get to be the commander-in-chief. And 3 times tonight I ordered them to play Hail to the Chief. But it's a nice event to go and to honor them and to share with them in their excitement. And then to also have the opportunity of coming here tonight and sharing your excitement in this beautiful, obviously beautiful facility. And if everything else is just exactly like I've seen since I've come in, and the part of the slideshow that I saw, I know that the whole complex is equally exciting to you. Tonight I wanted to tell you one thing semi-humorous and one thing serious, is that I came out here for the groundbreaking, Francis, and I have kidded Tut, as we call him, for some time, that this is the Francis Tuttle Votech System Center. And I remember when I was in the legislature, and I now know why it's so good. When I was in the legislature, we kept trying to get a dirt road paved in Pittsburgh County, and we kept coming up talking to Governor Gary, and he kept saying, we don't have money to pave every dirt road in this state. I now know what he was talking about. And I said, but Governor, this is important, this is critical. And he said, we can't pave every dirt road. And so we went back and we were trying to figure out how are we going to get that road paved. And if you know how proud Raymond Gary was to have been known as the road buildingest governor in the history of the state, it didn't take us long to figure out that we went to the city council and we named this the Raymond Gary Bypass. 3 days later, the State Highway Transportation Department was out there and blacktopped and widened the shoulders. And so every time I come by the Francis Tuttle Votech System, I think, boy, somebody was really thinking, this kind of like the E.T. Dunlap Chapel. It just goes on and on forever. But it's appropriately named because Francis Tuttle is synonymous with Votech in the state of Oklahoma. And of course, being 1982, you would want the finest facility named in his honor. I had the opportunity when I was lieutenant governor. Of course, I was born lieutenant governor. I had the opportunity while I was lieutenant governor of going with Governor Bartlett. And the Votech people here tonight have heard me say this many times, but I'm still proud of that. And General McNichol, incidentally, was commander at Tinker Air Force Base, and we became interested in Oklahoma in Votech for the first time. And General McNichol, who now serves on a Votech board, and Governor Bartlett, who was synonymous with economic development for the state of Oklahoma, came together with the idea Oklahoma ought to go to the East Coast to find out about Votech, and I got to go. And so to have been on the first plane that went to see for the first time what the Votech system could do for the state of Oklahoma, and then in 1982 to be governor of the state, may I modestly say on behalf of you, governor of the state that is the recognized national leader, the #1 Votech state in America is Oklahoma. And so when people ask you about, well, you're from Oklahoma, as you list those things of which you can be proud not only of the Francis Tuttle Center, you can be proud of the whole Votech system in the state of Oklahoma. I could modestly say also as the state that we're also, the past few years, the #1 increase in higher education, and we are the #1 state in the increase to common schools. We are, thanks to the leadership of people like Dr. Fisher and Dr. Dunlap and Dr. Tuttle. Dr. Banowski, who was the president of the University of Oklahoma, used to have a statement where he said, the rising tide raises all ships. And that's what we've done in education in Oklahoma these past few years. We have raised the 3 ships of education. And we've come away from the day when we were so argumentative with each other about who got to go first, because we're trying to raise each as we go. But to be the #1 state in anything is an honor, but to be recognized as the #1 Votech state. Might I also remind you that when you argue over which comes first, the hen or the egg, the outstanding economic condition of this state is due in a large part to Votech and the Votech system and its staff and administrators and its students and the legislators who made it possible and the districts who voted the money. A teamwork effort that brought all of this together started developing students that were trained for specific programs. So we not only can train, as you know, students for a program that we just want to train them for, but we can go to an industry and say, well, what do you need, and train them. Very unique system in education, and we're very proud of the progress that we have been making. We want to continue to make those progress steps that we've been taking. This past session of the legislature once again made record appropriations to education. We added new VOTEC districts. We're trying to make sure that VOTEC, as well as the higher education with the 27 colleges and universities, reaches every single geographical area of the state. And we've added a new VOTEC district now, not only here in Oklahoma County, these here, but now out at Woodward and Harper counties, and just recently one in Cimarron County. It's a great feeling that every area of the state gets to share in our opportunities. And so whether it be rural or urban, or whether it be southeast or northwest, or whether it be Pittsburgh County or Oklahoma County, it's great that we can see progress made. And VOTEC has helped bring us to where we are today, and where we are today will help us take VOTEC to where it ought to be at the height, number one, to continue. So which comes first, the hen or egg? Increase for education, or education that increases economic development? Maybe we can just keep them going together at the same time. Congratulations to you on your new center here. I'm very pleased to come and join you, not only dedicating the center, but honoring Dr. Tuttle. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Nye, the first two-term governor of Oklahoma. You know, William Shakespeare once wrote, "What's in a name? A rose by any other would smell as sweet." If that be true, our school by any other name would still be committed to quality training. But when we were considering names, there was never any other discussed that would have conveyed that message of commitment more deeply than the one that we chose. Dr. Francis Tuttle is an outstanding citizen and a leader of national stature. Francis Tuttle was born at Wellston, Oklahoma, and graduated from Wellston High School. After graduation from high school, Dr. Tuttle attended Oklahoma A&M College, where as a freshman, he served as a state secretary of Future Farmers of America. Perhaps it is the last line of the FFA motto, "Living to Serve," on which Francis Tuttle has based what has been a lifetime of professional and personal service to the best interest of youth and adult, and to the best interest of his state and his nation. After graduation from Oklahoma A&M College in 1942, Dr. Tuttle began what was to become a distinguished career in education. His first professional position was as a vocational agriculture teacher at Gotebo. His career in education was interrupted by service with the military from 1944 to 1946, and he served with distinction in the U.S. Army in the Philippines and was discharged as a captain. In 1946, he returned to his career in education. After service at Gotebo as a teacher, he became a school superintendent, serving with great distinction in successive positions at Gotebo, Holdenville, and Muskogee. In 1964, the State Board of Vocational Education selected Dr. Tuttle to be the first coordinator of the Oklahoma Area Vocational-Technical School System. While working full-time at his career, Francis Tuttle found time to earn the master's and doctor's degrees from the University of Oklahoma. In 1967, upon retirement of the late J.B. Perkey, Dr. Tuttle was named State Director of the Oklahoma Vocational Technical Education Department, a position which he continues to serve today. Recently, Dr. Tuttle received the Henry G. Bennett Distinguished Service Award, one of the most coveted awards in Oklahoma. Dr. Tuttle personifies all the qualities worth pursuing in life. He's a devoted husband and father, a respected educator, and to those who know him and work with him most closely, a loyal and personal friend. On behalf of the Board of Education, it gives me great pleasure to officially dedicate this institution in honor of Dr. Francis Tuttle. When visitors tour the Francis Tuttle Votech Center, we want them to put a face with a name. But more than that, we want them to get some idea of the contribution that Dr. Tuttle has made to the total vocational technical system of the state. In Oklahoma, he has been both architect and primary builder. The real product of the system is the students who take their place in the work world as productive citizens. Earlier this year, we commissioned one of the country's foremost portrait photographers, William S. McIntosh, to capture this spirit that I've just described. The portrait we are about to unveil will be placed on display in the boardroom, and the plaque underneath it will read, "The Francis Tuttle Votech Center, dedicated in honor of Dr. Francis Tuttle. As Director of the State Department of Vocational Technical Education, Dr. Tuttle has been the principal architect and builder of the area Votech system in Oklahoma. His commitment to quality, enthusiasm for innovation, and concern for the future of Oklahoma is the standard of excellence by which this center will be known." Dated September the 11th, 1982. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you Dr. Francis Tuttle in living and in photograph.
Well, what a tremendous honor. You know, when they called me one evening and the board had decided to apparently name this school in my honor, and Clovis Weatherford, who was superintendent at that time, told me, and in all honesty, I couldn't think of anything to say, and you know, wheels were turning, and Governor, what people would say, and all kinds of things. And finally he said, "Well, aren't you going to say anything?" And I said, "Well, you know, and I'm not even dead." My wife reminded me, kind of driving down here, she said, "Well, this should be a happy occasion," and it certainly is. She said, most of the time, when something is named after someone, why, it's after they're dead, and it's a sad occasion for the family. And I'm very happy that this evening my family can be here, and I'd like at this time to ask them to stand. All of my relatives, please stand. I'm very proud of them, and I'm pleased that they're here. There are many other people here this evening that I'm so pleased that they took time to come and see this wonderful new school, and perhaps because they knew me, at least some of them came for that reason, and I appreciate that very much. Governor, you were talking about being born Lieutenant Governor. One day, a group in my office was talking about it, and they said, "Well, you know, I wonder if Francis Tuttle hair was ever any other color than white." And one of them said, "No, he was born that way." But they snuck one picture in there some way that showed that it might have been another color. Recently, during our summer conference, Governor and I was generous enough to come and make a presentation at the conference, and I'd gone to great lengths in finding a good introduction for him. And I'd done this especially because at a previous occasion he was just introduced as the governor of the state of Oklahoma, and he was a little miffed because he said, "Well, you didn't even give me time to get my thoughts collected." And so I gave him a pretty good introduction. He went to the podium and he said, "Thanks, Dr. Fisher." And lastly, I want you to know that I had a return on that. I said, Governor, that's all right. He's running. He needs to get publicity. But thank you so much. And I'm so tremendously honored to have any school named after me. But this school, a vocational school, something that I've spent basically all of my life working in vocational education. Or during the 13 years I was a school administrator, I was still tremendously interested in the vocational aspect of education. I accept the honor on the basis that it was named because vocational education, I think, has made tremendous strides. The governor mentioned a tour to South Carolina. I, too, was invited to go on that tour. And by the way, General McNichol is here tonight. And also, he is going back to South Carolina along with some of the board members in District 22 to take another look and see how they're doing now. And but General, almost passing you as you go there, I will have to tell you that the state director in South Carolina and some people are coming to Oklahoma to see what we have. And we're pleased that we have been able to make some tremendous strides in the state. We've tried to look at things that other states are doing. And it is similar to a story that was told in Stillwater some years ago when we had two high schools in Stillwater, and one of them was quite successful with their basketball team, and the coach was invited to speak at the Rotary Club. And he came to a Rotary Club and made his presentation and was taking some questions, and somebody said, well, Coach said, since you're right here in Coach Henry Iba's hometown, do you ever go up and talk to him or watch his practices? He said, you bet. Said, I go up there quite often. Said, I watch those plays. Said, then I work them all out in my mind. I take them back, polish them up, and use them. So what we've attempted to do is to take the plays that South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida, and Wisconsin, and Ohio, and other states who have purported to have outstanding vocational programs. We've attempted to polish their programs up and use them in Oklahoma. How well we've done that, I'm not certain, but I believe we've done in this state a creditable job presenting to the people in the state of Oklahoma an outstanding vocational program. It still has a way to go. But schools like this, with the faculty as they've employed here, I am so certain that this is going to be a tremendous school. It's one of the best qualified staffs that I've had the opportunity to look at any place. The equipment in this school is modern and up to date. Some of it is the first of its kind in the state. But we know that tomorrow it's going to be an industry. And if we're going to train people to go out into industry, then it is necessary that we have modern, up-to-date equipment to do that on. Or else you will have been training them for skills that are perhaps outdated. That will not happen here, at least in the near future. The system of vocational education in Oklahoma has made tremendous strides. We now have 39 campuses of area vocational schools. Almost all of the state is covered. I think, as the governor has indicated, we have attempted to use vocational education as a tool to attract industry, and we've done quite well at that. Over 300 new industries have been attracted to Oklahoma since we've instituted the kind of vocational program that really relates to industry. And our special schools for training in industry has worked with those 300 industries, trained almost 40,000 people for new jobs in the state. And those new industries have located in over 100 communities in this state. And I think that the program of attracting new industry has been a tremendous asset to the state. Perhaps is one of the reasons that Oklahoma is in the kind of financial condition that it is today. Obviously, our unemployment is finally catching up and beginning to rise. But it is so in such good position in relation to places like Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. Some of those communities have 25 to 50% unemployment. And we feel so fortunate to be in Oklahoma. And I know you join me in feeling that Oklahoma is truly a good place to live, that it is progressive, that it has been catching up, that we have moved our educational programs. And I'm extremely proud to be a part of the educational system. You know, someone said recently, or I heard it recently, they said that the next best thing to a good education is a pushy mother. And there are a lot of pushy mothers that have pushed their children and helped them to see that getting that education is going to be a tremendous asset to them. I'm sure that a few dads have had some effect on that too. But not all of our young people that higher education is their cup of tea. And in fact, I don't know of the high school graduates that we have in the state, and I always try to hate to quote statistics, but I suspect that no more than 30% of them ever graduate from college. Many more of them start. But those that don't graduate and those that don't at least learn a skill that they can use to sell, perhaps need to take a look at this kind of education. And it would have saved them and their parents a considerable amount of money had they looked at it before they spent, perhaps, what they did. Plus the fact that they could have earned during the time they were making up their minds that that wasn't their cup of tea. So I guess I call on all educators to do a better job of informing students and parents about the potential in the vocational programs in the state of Oklahoma. I see for, you know, the thing that has been talked about here this evening is the strategy for tomorrow. I think that the strategy for tomorrow is going to be that a greater requirement, a greater emphasis is going to be put on the more technical aspects of vocational training. Now, that will occur in almost every field. Almost every field of vocational education today requires electronics as a background for it. You say, how can that be? But look at all of the machine tools as you go through this program. Some of those are computer-assisted, numerical control machines. Electronics is the basis for that. You look at the printing programs here. Electronics is a basic part of some of that. You look at even welders are becoming electronically controlled. And you all know about computers and business machines. All of that is electronically controlled. That means to me that education is going to have to take another look at how we prepare our youngsters. Parents are going to have to take a few thoughts about how they advise their youngsters. Because in my opinion, that most of the jobs that are coming up are going to require a basic electronic understanding for the person to function in that kind of a educational system, to learn to the level that they can compete in the job market. That doesn't mean that everyone has to be an electronic engineer, but it does mean, in my opinion, that public schools, for example, are going to have to give a greater consideration to mathematics and electronics as a part of the general education program. Vo-Tech schools are going to have to put more emphasis on the electronic program, because no matter what program the students are in, they need to understand the basic electronic theory so that they can function in whatever the field they're going in. Well, so many things that, I could talk about and would dearly love to, but I understand that this is not the time and place for that. But I think this center has a tremendous opportunity, has a running start in this large urban area to be the new high-tech center for perhaps the Oklahoma City area. You have perhaps the students who are already, hopefully, getting math backgrounds and electronic backgrounds, and if not, they can get them between the public schools and the Vo-Tech schools working together. And I see this center of really working into that high technology area. That doesn't mean that we're going to be competing with the universities, but we have to update what we're doing in order to our mission is to repair the machines, make them run, and operate them, train people who can do that. It's the university's mission, of course, to train people how to build them and how to operate them in that area. So we've all together, I think, if this country is going like it appears to me that it is going, we better get with it in terms of rethinking how we're going to educate our youngsters, and as parents, how we're going to counsel them, and as students, how you're going to dig in and do it. Because I think maybe our survival in the future depends on how well we do this. Our productivity of our business and industry depends on how well we do it. So it's of tremendous importance that all of us give it real consideration. Again, to members of the Board of Education here at the Francis Tuttle Vo-Tech, to Bruce Gray, the superintendent. I don't see anything but a tremendous future. And to the faculty that you have put together, I think that with all of you working and with the continued support of the people in this district and the legislature and the governor being the kind of supporter that he has been for all education, this center has to be one of the greatest in America. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tuttle. There are too many people to thank this evening for this event and leading up to this event, but I would like just to recognize two or three for all the special work they have done. First of all, I'd like to recognize Garland McWaters and the media staff for putting this production together. Garland? Very back. I'd also like to recognize, and I'm sure she's not here, and I hope most of you indulge in the hors d'oeuvres that we have planned for you, our food services coordinator and her students that have worked many, many hours at night and all weekend getting this reception ready, Karen Long. And I would especially like to recognize the many hours of hard work, and most of our faculty, or some of them, are in the videotape room next door so they can hear me. I would like to recognize our administrative staff and our faculty who have done a lot of work to get ready for you tonight and all their programs and for our open house tomorrow. Would you please stand so we can recognize you? This concludes our program for this evening. We would like to invite each of you to join us in touring. Each of the departments will be open. They'll have special demonstrations set up for you. Please take advantage to go throughout the center. When we adjourn here, we would like for you to go exit down the bottom or at the top, go to the center of the school and into the food service area, and there is a reception and hors d'oeuvres waiting for you. Thank you very much for coming this evening.